tonight, again, another gathering, another session of Freed to Heal, where we come together, formerly incarcerated, loved ones, children formerly incarcerated or children of incarcerated parents. And we come together, we try to heal the ravages of what mass incarceration has done to all of us. I'm grateful to have some guys that usually are on Zoom. They're here with us in person tonight. I'm super glad that Ms. Ward can join us this evening. She's in her process of having chemo, and she's just such a shining light, and I'm so glad that she's with us. And tonight, I ran across this book in my my shelf, and I must have bought this book for something. And it's How to Heal from Distant, Rejecting, or Self-Involved Parents. And the one thing that I know is that most of the damage that's done to us is done to us in childhood. It certainly sets us off on a path. It sets us off usually in a trajectory of things that that set our lives up. It puts us on a path, and a lot of it has to do with our parents being people before they were our parents. So this book talks a lot about emotionally immature parents fear genuine emotion and pull back from emotional closeness. They use coping mechanisms that resist reality rather than dealing with it. They don't welcome self-reflection, so they rarely accept blame or apologize. Now, one of the things, Miss Di, she has been my my teacher. She enlightens me about the tragedies of narcissism in relationships and how it plays out. And she was the first person to tell me that narcissists typically don't like kids. And she also pointed out to me that they often usually have addictions, which is consistent with narcissists as well. And the reason I bring it up is to say this. One of the things that I've learned through the years of working with people who have been formerly incarcerated and having a loved one and having been in love with somebody who was incarcerated was that incarceration is a breeding ground for narcissism. And the reason is it starts out as a self-preservation thing, and then it gets perverted. I know when my ex came home, I was worried about what he was going through, and he was worried about what he was going through. All the focus in our relationship was on what was happening with him. One person. How do we handle what his issues were? There was no concern about what I was going through, which was my fault, right? Because I allowed that to be the case. But in this, and what I've learned is that narcissists, and see, it can be produced by us. We can breed it into people. Like I was telling my girlfriend when her grandson was little, everything they said, this is his world. I ain't gonna call his name. It's his world. Okay, let's call him Jack. It's Jack's world. And I told him, don't say that. He's going to be a black man in America. It's never going to be all about him. You setting him up for failure. Everything he wanted became the forefront of everybody's function. And when you do that and you don't hold them accountable, you breed narcissism. You create a scenario where all they think about and all they think that other people are supposed to think about is what they're going through. Okay. And ultimately, now remember, these are the same people who become parents, which is who this book is talking about. Their immaturity makes them inconsistent and emotionally unreliable, and they're blind to their children's needs once their own agenda comes into play. Mind you, let's think about this not just in relationship to their children, but think about it in relationship to other people, right? If you're trying to have a relationship with somebody, and they're emotionally immature, as this book is using that term, then this is going to show up in all different kinds of ways. Okay.
You're talking right now.
Myths and fairy tales have been depicting such parents for centuries. Think of how many fairy tales feature abandoned children who must find aid from animals and other helpers because their parents are careless, clueless, or absent. Now, a guy that I know wrote a book on abandonment, and he was saying that because his father abandoned him, he also wound up abandoning his child. And he had to forgive his dad, and his dad died before he could, so he had to go to his dad's grave. And he would go, interestingly enough, year in and year out until finally, and he would curse at his dad and everything at the grave. And then finally he was able to forgive his dad because he began to understand that his dad was a person who had his own hurts and all of those things, his own trauma. And as I've said to you guys before, in dealing with the guys at the Francisco homes in particular, I realized there were a lot of men that didn't even know what trauma was. They didn't even know they had been through trauma. Their existence, things have been traumatic, but they didn't know that that's what it was. And so also at the conference that I went to, Beyond Bars, put on by Columbia University, I went there last week, and there was a group, an organization called Success Stories. And they did a presentation, and they started off talking about toxic masculinity and how that is played out or whatever. And one thing I wanted to make sure that they understood, while there may be toxic masculinity, please do not underestimate or forget the toxic ass women either. Okay? Now, we may have gotten it from men, and it may have been a response or a reaction to men, but there are lots of toxic women that do toxic things that affect children. For example, the woman who's mad that the man is not with them and stops them from seeing their kids. The woman who tells the kid, you act just like your father. Right, right. All of these things, this is all toxic as hell, but this is passed on from generation to generation. And again, remembering when people talk about how terrible young people are now, my thing is, we need to look in the mirror at our age and our generation, because who raised them? And then, when you think about how many of them have been in foster care and haven't had anybody raising them, well, what did they know? What do they learn? How did they get it? How did they get that way? If you've never been respected, how do you know to give respect? You don't have it. And that's true for all of us as adults.
You know what it felt like. You don't know what it smells like. You don't know what it tastes like. If no one never gave you a hug that you was looking for the person to give you a hug from, how do you know how to give somebody else a hug?
You can't. You can't. There's a part of you you have a lack of information. There's something in you that you don't have, and it wasn't given to you. And so it's not your fault. And I don't blame them. And I say, what do we do? What's our job at this point? Our job is to try to help them. Try to help them and educate them, show them the way. I'm a big believer in, a big believer in parents teaching their children and preparing them. I was on a thing on Instagram, and it was like, oh, should you make your children leave home at 18? And everybody's like, no, I would never, no. And I said, oh, I did. But guess what? I prepared him from a little bitty boy. I start telling him at 2 years old, you got to leave home at 18. You got to leave home at 18. You better figure out what you're going to do, because you got to leave home at 18. And at 18 years and 3 weeks, he was out my house. Why? Because I prepared him to go. But what we doing now is people are not preparing their children. They're coddling them. They don't want them to experience even hurt feelings, much less any challenges. And then they expect them they don't want them to make no decisions.
But your feelings don't get hurt no matter what you do in life.
Right.
They gonna get hurt if you go to the grocery store and the lines long. My feelings be hurt. I be mad for real, because I'm trying to figure out why are these lines so long. But your feelings are gonna get hurt. That's stuff that you cannot stop.
Why do we not want to go to we try to find somebody to go to the where for us right now? The gas station. Anybody, because we both driving on fumes. We both riding on fumes right now. We was laughing. We don't want to go to the gas station.
crying.
Then I'm gonna be really mad. Then I'm gonna be really upset. But it's gonna be all my fault.
Yeah, because all I had to do was stop at the gas station, but that's something I don't like to do. I don't like stopping at the gas.
Let me just say this: I passed two of them on the way here.
You should have seen me like take the back street. If you run out of gas, just say I can make it right there. Somebody can pick me up.
So,
But if my car is on the big street, now I gotta get off the street. Everybody had to know. Just take the back street right here.
so
Yeah.
this is the thing. So if you don't want your children's feelings to be hurt, right? Okay. How many days are a week, or how many times a day do your feelings get hurt? Okay. You don't want them to make no decisions. You want to make all the decisions for them, and then they don't know how to make a decision, and you mad about that.
But then they getting on your nerves because they asking you questions and you mad. How you mad? If you don't teach them how to do anything for themselves and they always depending on you and they asking you, why are you mad?
I don't understand the
That's
concept.
like the pandemic where all these kids was killing themselves. While the parents was getting all erratic. We had all this domestic violence. We had all kind of stuff going on because, first of all, nobody wants to be home with their kids. How you don't want to be home with that's your child. Yeah. That's your child. But you want the teacher to put up with that.
Ooh-wee.
All day, every day. No.
And when them teachers was telling you your kids was bad,
Yeah,
you didn't believe them.
Yeah.
You the first one running up there telling them the teacher picking on my kid. Nah, your kid's bad as shit. Let's just be clear. They bad as shit. Tell the truth. Shame the devil. Okay? You don't teach them. You don't make them respect you at home. You think they cute when they sassing you and putting their hands on their hips. And they taking pictures like this. Doing all that's cute. No, ain't none of that shit cute. It's not cute. Okay? And now when they go to school and they out in public, now you mad. Because society is not accepting them like that.
Okay, that's your first word you want to say. I didn't raise them like that.
You wasn't raising them at all.
Okay.
Responsibility.
I worked at the school. These kids is off the chain. When I say off the chain, I'm talking about they always want to come to naked. Why? Why is your shirt way up there like that? And we tell you can't wear that. That's in the rules right now. But every day you want your shirt way up here. Why? We don't want to see none of this right here. You don't expose none of this. They shorts got to be way up here, and they want to do TikToks all day. Jabel didn't run. You still doing TikTok? Okay, before I call your mama, well, what's she doing? All I just be. The bell run 20 minutes ago. She's still doing TikTok.
That's great.
With the shorts on. Did you know she had on these shorts? She didn't leave out like that.
What?
A lot of parents do not pay attention.
I don't get it.
You know, I think you have to teach your kids to be, live responsible. But like you said, we parents are quick to say, my kids is not like this. My kid didn't do that. You don't know what you're doing when they're out there. And then, like you said, you see them come home with other friends, and you know that's not good for them, but you allow it to go on. And then when something bad happens, you want to cry, oh, my baby, this and that. You should teach them in the household, just like she said, from day one.
It's too late at that point. After the damage has already happened, it's too late now. And don't want, like I say, and quick to tell the teacher, oh, you picking on my child. No. In fact, my own son told me that he was tuning out when his wife started talking about the meetings they had to have at the school so they could check my grandbaby into school. And he said, I'm just not ready, because, some little kid might hurt her feelings. I said, what? Boy, I said, thank you. And that is an immature way to think. And it's narcissism. And it's levels to narcissism, right? And you're not ready for her to grow up, but she growing up anyway. She's still going to be 5 years old and got to go to school, whether you like it or not. And like I told them, I said to him and my daughter-in-law was like, no, she got to go. And so she's doing all the work, and I'm telling my son, listen, they're going to hurt her feelings. I can promise, let me guarantee you. Let me tell you what's going to happen. She's going to go to school, and some kid is going to say something to her, and it's going to hurt her feelings. And guess what's going to happen? The sun is going to rise tomorrow, and it's going to set tomorrow evening. Okay? What your job is to teach her how to cope. That's your job.
Emotion.
To teach her not to internalize just because they said it, don't make it so. Your job is to make sure that she's secure in who she is so that she doesn't believe what those people are telling her. Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements, he says, listen, the only reason that somebody can say something to you that's going to make you feel bad about yourself is that somewhere in you, you believe what they're saying. You believe it. So, prime example. I told you guys this story many times before. So if you heard it, just don't even trip. But if you haven't heard it, this is a story. I had an ex, broke up with him. He started dating another woman, and she calls me to try to have this conversation with me. And the first time I let her have a conversation, I answered her questions because I didn't want her to feel like I was any threat to their relationship. But then she called me again. I said, hold up, we're not friends. Don't keep calling me. I didn't get answered your questions. Leave me alone. Why all of a sudden now I'm a fat bald head bitch? Well,
You don't want to be her friend.
well, right. But guess what? I'm fat. Oh, well, I'm okay with it. I'm bald headed by choice. Clearly I can grow hair, right? And if I couldn't, I could sew some in and have as much hair as I wanted. But the issue is, her calling me that didn't mean nothing to me. I didn't feel nothing about
We
it.
take it personal. A lot of times we take things personal and we let it get into us and we react that way.
And that's exactly what the agreement is not taking things personal. Because what he says is the reason you are upset is because you somewhere inside of you believe what they say. You agree. You have accepted that what they said. Now, if you a kid that pees the bed and you smell like pee, you know you smell like pee. So yeah, when they tell you smell like pee, you pee, right? You smell. Then do something about it. Stop pissing the bed, then. Right now, if you got a problem, go see about it. Go to the doctor or whatever. Right. But again, what happens is the only way. So people. So I use this example came up this weekend too of teaching in the women's prison. I would teach this several times. Well, that B said this to me. That B said this about me. And I would listen and listen and listen as a facilitator. And then I said, okay, so that now that they said that, is that worth you getting a 115 and extending your time to be away from them same kids? She talked about my kids. So because she said that, right, do she know your damn kids?
You've been here like 7 years. Does she know your kids?
Okay, have she ever met them? Have she ever made them a meal?
I'm trying to say they still home. No.
Okay, so now you willing to do extra time about something she said, about some kids she don't know that she don't take care of, and you willing to do extra time about what they said? Is it that you agree with them that your kids ain't shit, or whatever they said that had you so upset? Somehow deep inside of you, you agree with what they said, whether you want to admit it or not. Your actions show that you agree, and that's why it has the power to affect you. So as parents, our job is to make sure that our children's foundation of who they are and that they're accepted is so strong before you send them out into the world that whatever Miss Tony said about me the other day don't matter, right? That's our job as parents. But if we're immature parents and all we could think about is what's going on with us, and we never accept responsibility for nothing, it's always somebody else's fault.
You gotta be honest with your kids first. Always be honest. I'm a mother of a child that started getting in trouble at a very early age. But I've always told him, I tell him all the time, for your actions, there's gonna be reaction. So you already know the choices that you making. That has nothing to do with me, but that's something to do with you. So you already know the choices you making for the action is going to be reaction. So if you want to make that choice, always be ready for the reaction coming with it.
And suffer them consequences.
Be ready.
Be
Be ready.
You know, not cut you off.
Be ready.
And I saying to another, but me and him kind of live by that. If we're not willing to deal with that consequence,
Be
we're
ready.
not willing to make that type of choice.
Mhm.
So we trying to think things through. And I think that's what a lot of people don't do here today. They just
You don't think
react,
at all.
like the lady was saying, she said this about my kid. That's the immaturity, the insecurity in yourself to make you respond like that. Because until you have security, until you secure yourself, words don't mean nothing, because you know who you are as a person.
Right,
That's the truth.
Yeah.
right,
As you go on, you'll learn different ways to think and outthink other people.
right.
You know,
Yes.
so.
Yes, and it's so true because, what'd you say, Tony?
The same thing, I said to my son,
Can you guys hear her? Okay, go ahead. I just want to make sure they can hear you.
hearing the same thing that I said to my son, his biological mom and dad, his dad is my uncle, were on drugs. And somewhere in a conversation, there was some talk about the illicit and illegal acts his mother and father were going through. And, he came to me, crying like a baby. And I told him, I said, but I was very honest with you about where you came from, what you came from, how we got here. I've always been extremely honest with you. No, I spared you the gory details, but what about what they said actually changed anything? Are you going to go and see her and look at her differently because you know this particular detail? What about what I told you? I just didn't expound, but what about what I told you? And what about what they said actually changed anything? Just stand there for a minute and let what they said sink in. Now tell me, because I'm big on listening to respond versus listening to understand. You responded with this hurt and this anger, but now that you have comprehended, what actually changed? The time on the watch.
Right.
It has no,
Very-
it has no bearing on you. I'm not here to take flight for my mother's crimes. I'm not here to take flight for my father's crimes or my uncles or anyone else. You're not here for that.
Right.
You're here for you. They're having this conversation. Yes, it's illicit. Yes, it's disrespectful. But so what? What changed about your life in that moment? Nothing changed.
Mm-hmm.
Let them be. That's their insecurities. That's their indignation. Let them be. It changes nothing about you. So you move forward. When you see them next, smile at them. Because I always ask people to get in the line. I got no problem
With the rest of the people.
none.
Something she said was real powerful this while ago. What changed?
Right.
That's the most powerful thing. Whatever they said, how did it, what changed?
What affected you? How did
Did
it
your bank
affect you?
account
Yeah,
change?
nothing changed, move on.
And that's what I was just thinking too, Chester. That really struck me too was, so what changed? Because you explained what happened. You had already told him what happened. You just didn't go into the gory details because I'm sure it was age appropriate. Let me give you information you need to have. And I'm not going into no more details. Right, exactly.
I set him down, explain, he had two mothers and the teachers telling me, you might not be one to have that LGBTQ conversation with him. And I was like, baby, he got two moms because he's adopted, not because we're lesbians. But if we were lesbians, it would be something that he would be dealing with. and he
Period.
was proud of it or what have you. But
Right.
it's like, nothing changed about your situation if you look at it. Did she slip and take $5 out your pocket? Did she take your check? Did she have to pay into your ATM?
You just take $5 out your pocket.
All of that. I said it all because you have to realize, like sometimes, like what he's saying, what we're saying, sometimes you gotta know your animal, right? And my son is 6'6", wears a 17 shoe and puss and boots, okay? He's soft as cheese. So I have to explain to him, as simple, shut up, as simple as life is. it's okay.
Right.
This is a lot. You dealing with a lot. Our families dealt with a lot. It's a whole lot. Don't worry about it.
Right.
What has changed? No, I'm not so hard and callous that I don't hurt.
Right.
I do hurt.
Yeah.
But in the whole scope of things, let me hurt for a real reason and
Yeah.
not behind somebody's
Words.
ignorant conversation, because this was a conversation with adults,
Mm.
you know, while they was doing drugs.
Oh my.
Okay.
Well, that was the first reason to ignore what they was talking about.
And he was a kid, and it was some spiteful stuff to hurt someone who went and repeated it. It's okay. It's, you know, you gonna be talked about. My grandmother said, if don't nobody talk about you, you might as well be dead.
Mm.
So
They're more worried about you than.
sure, yeah, so don't worry about it. It's okay, but I have, you know, sometimes I have to be just a little bit over dramatic with him because I have to explain these things to him. You know, you were born. That's it. It don't matter. None
All
of that
that stuff
matters.
has nothing to do with you, baby.
None of that matters. I done hit a few fat lips on things that I allowed to get to me when I was younger. But today it's like, girl, I don't care.
Let it roll off your back. You was
I don't care. If you get me to jump up out the seat, you better run. 'Cause this
Okay.
is very-
yeah, because no, seriously, no, because it's really for something, right? No, really, it's really for something. If I'm gonna give it that much energy, I swear, like the time I got arrested, and the man said, "Oh, you know what the charge is?" I said, "No." He said, AWD, or something like that. I was like, "What?" And I said, and then he explained it to me. I guess he figured because I was in the hood, I automatically knew what the initials meant. No, I don't know what does that mean? And so then he told me, well, assault with a deadly weapon. I said, what weapon? My fist? And he was like, no, the pot. I said, pot? I said, what pot? Yeah, the guy came and he said that he saw you hit the old lady with a pot. I said, let me just tell you something right here. If I was mad enough to hit her with a pot, y'all would have been getting her from the ambulance. It would have been no question. It would have been no question that I was guilty of exactly what they said. I'm just telling you. Okay, now, of course, you know, they tell you when you get arrested, be quiet. But that one, I couldn't even let go. Let me just tell you this. Go get the damn pot. Where the pot? And wait, and the one officer didn't want to go get the pot.
Mm.
He didn't want to go get the pot. He also was the one who didn't want to arrest the lady that had hit me. It was an older lady. She had hit me. She was older, and they was willing to arrest the daughter who pulled the knife on me, but they wasn't willing to arrest the old lady. And my seniors from across the street came out and surrounded her van and said, this van won't go nowhere with this lady in it. If she going to jail, she going to jail too. And they took both of us to jail. But the thing is like, oh wait, let me just tell you this. Again, if I was angry enough to hit her the first time with the pot, trust me, it wouldn't have been one hit and y'all have been calling it'd have been ambulances out here. It would have been no question about your blood and everything. It would have been everything. But where's the pot? Go get it. You know what I'm saying? And when the other guy got back in the car, I said, hey, your partner don't want to go get the pot. Go get the pot, because my fingerprints would have to be on it if I was beating this lady with a pot. Go get the pot. Go get it. And he went to go get it. And put it in his trunk. I don't know if it ever wound up in there or not, because they never did. It was a DA reject. But at the end of the day, again, if I was that mad, you know how much you would have had to do to me to get me to respond in that way, to beat you with a pot? Somebody I don't even know? Oh man, no, it had to be, you really would have to do. And the only reason I hit the lady is because she hit me first. I was defending myself and would do that again, because you don't put your damn hands on me. I don't give a fuck who you are. Care how old you are, whatever, I don't give a damn. It's like, I feel like in my Bernie Mac voice, if you a kid and you want to get in the ring, I don't give a damn. I'll fuck a kid up. I don't care. Chester, was it a point that you wanted to make a minute ago?
No,
Okay.
I was just listening.
Yeah, so it's like, and hi, Miss Roberta. We see you snuck in with your pretty blue glasses. We hope you had a good day. Good. So again, all of this, is one of the reasons why The Four Agreements is one of my favorite books ever. I will tell people it saved my life. It saved my life because along with me learning that I don't have to defend myself, because when somebody's attacking me for something, usually that has more to do with how they feel about them than how they feel about me.
at all.
It doesn't have anything to do with me. So I'm grateful to know that